The emergency alarm screamed through the halls of the Galactic Council station as Ambassador Veltar rushed to the command center. His blue tentacles moved quickly across the control panels, trying to understand what had triggered the alert. For over 3,000 years, the Sol system had been marked with red warnings on every star map, a dead zone where an entire species had destroyed itself. Captain Rax stood near the main screen, his 4 yellow eyes focused on the strange readings. Ambassador, look at these energy signatures. They're coming from the Sol system, but that's impossible. Nothing should be alive there. Veltar moved closer to examine the data. The numbers made no sense. High-level technology readings, organized flight patterns, and complex energy sources. All coming from a system that should be empty except for floating debris and radiation. Maybe it's just solar activity, Veltar suggested, though his voice showed doubt. That yellow star was always unstable according to our old records. No, sir, said Lieutenant Zex, a young officer monitoring the deep space sensors. These patterns are too organized. They look like ship movements and defensive positions. The 3 aliens stood in silence, trying to process this information. Every species in the galaxy knew the story of humanity, a violent race that had discovered nuclear weapons and used them to destroy their own planet. It was taught in schools as a warning about the dangers of uncontrolled aggression. Captain Rax was the first to speak. We need to investigate this. If something is alive in that system, the Council needs to know about it. Absolutely not, Veltar replied firmly. The Sol system is off limits by direct order of the High Council. No ship has been allowed within 50 light-years of that region for 3 millennia. But Rax was already moving toward the communication console. As a decorated military officer, he had the authority to launch reconnaissance missions in cases of potential security threats. This could be a new alien species that moved into the dead system. Or worse, it could be some kind of automated defense system left behind by the humans. Within hours, a small fleet of 12 Council ships was assembled. Captain Rax commanded the mission from his flagship, the Dominator. The other ships were filled with scientists, diplomats, and soldiers, all curious about what they might find in the Forbidden Zone. As they traveled through hyperspace toward the Sol system, the crew, prepared for various scenarios, some thought they would find primitive scavengers picking through human ruins. Others expected to discover a new alien race that had claimed the empty system. None of them considered the possibility that humanity might still exist. 3 days later, they dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Captain Rax immediately ordered full sensor sweeps, while his communications officer tried to detect any signals from the inner planets. Sir, called out the sensor operator, I'm picking up multiple contacts, large ones. They're moving in formation. The main screen activated, showing the distant shapes approaching their position. The ships were sleek and silver, with designs unlike anything in the Council database. But as they came closer, the crew could see markings on their hulls, blue and white symbols that matched the ancient records of human vessels. That's impossible, whispered the science officer. Those are Terran insignias. But humans died out 3,000 years ago. Captain Rax felt his confidence begin to waver. The approaching ships were clearly advanced, moving with precision that suggested highly sophisticated technology. Their energy readings were off the charts, far beyond anything the Council had encountered before. Suddenly, the communication system crackled to life. A voice spoke in perfect galactic standard, but with an accent that made Rax's blood run cold. It was unmistakably human. Attention, unknown vessels. You are entering restricted space under Earth jurisdiction. Turn around immediately and leave this system. The bridge fell silent. Everyone stared at the communication console as if it might explain the impossible message they had just heard. Captain Rax found his voice first. This is Captain Rax of the Galactic Council Fleet. Identify yourselves immediately. Humanity is extinct. You cannot be human. There was a long pause before the voice responded, and when it did, there was something cold and final in the tone. Captain Rax, you are mistaken on several points. First, humanity is very much alive. Second, we never recognize the authority of your Galactic Council. Third, you have exactly 10 minutes to turn around and leave our space before we take action. Rax looked at his tactical display. His 12 ships were heavily armed council vessels, equipped with the most advanced weapons in known space. The human ships, while impressive, were only 5 in number. Sir, his weapons officer reported, should I charge the plasma cannons? We have superior numbers and firepower. Captain Rax made a decision that would change galactic history forever. Instead of retreating as ordered, he chose to press forward, convinced that primitive humans could not possibly pose a threat to the mighty council fleet. All ships, maintain course and speed. Prepare for possible hostile contact. As his fleet moved deeper into the Sol system, Rax had no idea that he was leading his ships into a trap that had been 3,000 years in the making. Captain Lee Min-ho stood on the bridge of the human ship Retribution, watching the alien fleet approach on his main screen. His hands rested calmly on the command chair as he observed the 12 council vessels moving in standard attack formation. After 3,000 years of waiting and preparing, this moment had finally arrived. Captain, said Lieutenant Park Sojin from her position at the communication station, the alien fleet is broadcasting on all frequencies. They're demanding we identify ourselves and submit to their authority. Min-ho nodded slowly. He had studied the Council's first contact protocols during his years at the Academy. The aliens always expected immediate surrender from any species they encountered. It was how they had built their empire across the galaxy. What's their exact message? He asked. Sojin read from her display. They say we must prepare for boarding and inspection. They claim that humanity is extinct and that we cannot be what we appear to be. The lead ship identifies itself as Captain Rax of the Council fleet. On the tactical display, Ensign Kim Da-bin tracked the movement of the alien ships. Sir, they're spreading into combat formation. Weapons are charging, but they haven't achieved target lock yet. Min-ho had expected this reaction. The Council had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years through superior firepower and intimidation. They weren't used to being challenged, especially by a species they believed to be dead. Open a channel to their fleet commander, Min-ho ordered. Kirk, main screen flickered, showing the bridge of the alien flagship. Captain Rax appeared to be some kind of insect creature with 4 large eyes and clicking mandibles. Behind him, other alien crew members worked at their stations, their confidence clear in their movements. I am Captain Rax, the alien announced, his voice harsh through the translation system. You will power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. By order of the Galactic Council, this system is under our investigation. Min-ho stepped forward, his expression calm but firm. Captain Rax, I am Captain Lee Min-ho of the Earth Defense Force. You are trespassing in human space. I'm giving you one opportunity to withdraw peacefully. The alien captain's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. Human space? Humans destroyed themselves 3,000 years ago. Everyone in the galaxy knows this story. You cannot fool us with primitive tricks. We never destroyed ourselves. Min-ho replied evenly. We simply chose to disappear until we were ready to deal with species like yours. Behind Captain Rax, the alien crew members exchanged glances. Some appeared amused, others seemed nervous about the human's confident tone. Ready to deal with us? Rax clicked his mandibles again. You have 1 ship, I have 12. Each of my vessels carries weapons that could destroy your entire planet. Surrender now and we may allow you to live as subjects of the Council. Lieutenant Park Sojin whispered to her captain. Sir, they're scanning our ship. Their sensors are trying to penetrate our hull, but our shielding is holding. Min-ho wasn't surprised. Human technology had advanced far beyond anything the Council possessed. 3,000 years of focused development, without the distractions of politics or territorial expansion, had produced remarkable results. Captain Rax, Min-ho said, his voice growing colder, you're making a serious mistake. Earth never recognized the authority of your council when we were a primitive species using chemical rockets. We certainly don't recognize it now, the alien. Captain's 4 eyes focused on Min-ho with growing irritation. Enough of this nonsense. You will surrender immediately, or we will take your ship by force. And if I refuse, then you will die along with any other humans hiding in this dead system. Minho turned to his weapons officer. Ensign Kim, are our defensive systems ready? Kim Dobbin nodded. All systems are online, sir. The orbital platforms are also standing by. Captain Rax apparently heard this exchange because his expression changed to one of confusion. Orbital platforms? Our sensors detect no defensive installations around your planets. That's because you're using primitive scanning technology, Minho explained patiently. Your sensors can only detect what we want them to detect. The alien captain's confidence finally began to crack. You're bluffing. No single species could develop technology superior to the entire Galactic Council. Captain Rax, in the next 60 seconds, you're going to learn something important about humanity. We don't bluff. We prepare. Minho made a subtle hand gesture, and Lieutenant Park opened a system-wide communication channel. Across the Sol system, hidden installations began to decloak. Defense platforms appeared around Earth, Mars, Jupiter, and several other locations. Each one bristled with weapons that defied the known laws of physics. On the alien flagship, warning alarms began to sound. The tactical officer reported with panic in his voice, "Captain, massive energy signatures are appearing throughout the system. I count over 200 defensive platforms and they're all targeting our fleet." Captain Rax stared at his displays in disbelief. In less than a minute, his superior position had completely reversed. Instead of facing one isolated human ship, he now found himself surrounded by the most advanced defensive network he had ever encountered. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Captain Rax," Minho's voice came through the communication system. "You now have 30 seconds to begin your withdrawal from human space. This is your final warning." Captain Rax stared at the tactical display showing hundreds of human defensive platforms surrounding his fleet. His four eyes moved rapidly between the different screens, trying to understand how the situation had changed so quickly. Just minutes ago, he had been confident in his superior numbers and firepower. Now his 12 ships were completely surrounded. "Sir," his tactical officer reported with a shaking voice, "the energy readings from those platforms are beyond anything in our database. Each one appears to be more powerful than our entire fleet combined." Rax's mandibles clicked nervously. In his 30 years of military service, he had never encountered technology that could hide such massive installations from Council sensors. The humans had somehow made their defensive systems completely invisible until they chose to reveal them. On the main screen, Captain Minho waited patiently for a response. His calm expression made Rax feel even more uncertain about the situation. "Captain," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving withdrawal orders from the Council. They want us to leave immediately." But Rax's pride wouldn't allow him to retreat. He had built his reputation on never backing down from inferior species. The idea of running from humans, a race that everyone believed to be extinct, was unthinkable. "No," he said firmly. "We are the Galactic Council. We don't run from primitives no matter what tricks they use to hide their weapons." His second-in-command, a veteran officer named Kex, moved closer to the captain's chair. "Sir, perhaps we should consider the humans' warning. Their technology appears to be far more advanced than our intelligence report suggested." Rax turned, his four eyes toward Kex with anger. "Are you suggesting we surrender to a dead species? These humans are probably using stolen technology or ancient automated systems. They can't possibly be as advanced as they appear." On the human ship, Lieutenant Park Sojin monitored the alien communications. "Captain, they're not withdrawing. In fact, it looks like they're charging their weapon systems." Minho sighed deeply. He had hoped the aliens would see reason and leave peacefully. 3,000 years of human development had been focused on defense and protection, not conquest. But if the Council wanted a demonstration of human capabilities, he would provide one. "All stations prepare for defensive action," he announced. "Rules of engagement are clear. Disable their ships, but preserve their lives. We want survivors to report back to their council." Ensign Kim Dobbin activated the weapon systems with practiced efficiency. "Sir, All defensive platforms are online and ready. Gravity manipulation systems are charged and standing by. Captain Rax made his final decision. All ships open fire on the human vessel. Show them the power of the Council. 12 alien warships unleashed their full firepower at the Retribution. Plasma beams, particle cannons, and fusion missiles filled the space between the two fleets. The weapons were powerful enough to destroy entire cities, and they all focused on the single human ship. But something impossible happened. The Retribution didn't try to dodge or defend itself. Instead, the ship seemed to phase through the attacks as if they were made of light. Every weapon that should have destroyed the human vessel simply passed through it without causing any damage. "What's happening?" Rax demanded. "Why aren't our weapons working?" His science officer stared at her instruments in confusion. "Sir, the human ship appears to be existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Our weapons are hitting it, but they're not connecting with its physical structure." Before Rax could respond, the Retribution fired back. A single pulse of energy emerged from the human ship, moving at impossible speed. It struck 3 Council vessels simultaneously, passing through their shields as if they didn't exist. The alien ships didn't explode or catch fire. Instead, they simply went dark. All power systems failed instantly, life support switched to emergency backup, and the vessels began to drift helplessly in space. "Impossible," Rax whispered, watching 3 of his most powerful warships become floating debris in seconds. Lieutenant Park So-jin opened a system-wide communication channel from the Retribution. "All Council vessels, this is your final warning. Withdraw immediately or face complete disable." But Captain Rax was beyond reason now. The humiliation of being defeated by a single human ship was too much for his pride to accept. "All remaining ships, concentrate fire on their defensive platforms. Destroy everything you can." The 9 remaining Council ships turned their weapons toward the human orbital platforms. Massive energy beams lanced out toward the defensive installations, but the results were the same. The human platforms seemed to absorb the attacks, converting the energy into harmless light patterns. Then the platforms responded. Gravity wells opened beneath each Council ship, trapping them in place like insects in amber. The alien vessels found themselves unable to move, their engines powerless against the artificial gravity fields. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, with panic in his voice. "We're caught in some kind of gravity trap. Engines are at full power, but we're not moving." More energy pulses emerged from the human platforms, each one precisely targeted. One by one, the remaining Council ships went dark, their crews alive but their vessels completely disabled. Within minutes, the entire Council fleet floated powerless in space. Captain Rax sat in his command chair, staring at the emergency lighting. That was the only power remaining on his ship. On the Retribution, Captain Minho looked at the disabled alien fleet with satisfaction. The demonstration was complete, and not a single life had been lost. "Sir," Ensign Kim reported, "all Council vessels are disabled but stable. Their crews are unharmed." Minho nodded. "Good. Now they can return to their Council and explain what happens when you ignore humanity's warnings." Admiral Korth received the emergency distress signal while reviewing supply reports in his private quarters. The message was brief but shocking. Captain Rax's entire fleet had been disabled in the Sol system by unknown forces claiming to be human. "Impossible," Korth muttered as he rushed to the command center. "Humans have been extinct for 3,000 years." Within hours, he had assembled the largest Council rescue fleet in recent history. 50 warships, including his flagship Dominator Supreme, raced toward the Forbidden Sol system. Korth was determined to retrieve Rax's disabled fleet and deal with whatever threat had attacked them. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported as they approached the edge of human space, "we're detecting the disabled Council vessels. They're drifting but appear intact. And the attackers? No sign of them, sir, just empty space." Korth felt confident. Whatever primitive humans had survived in the system, they couldn't possibly stand against 50 of the Council's most advanced warships. He would rescue Rax's fleet and then teach these humans about the price of attacking Council forces. On Earth's primary defense station, General Choi Han-sol watched the approaching alien armada with calm interest. Beside her, Dr. Yoon Hye-jin adjusted the controls of the gravity manipulation array with the casual ease of someone who had spent decades perfecting impossible science. 50 ships this time, Han Sol observed. They're learning, but not fast. Enough. Should we decloak the full defensive grid? Hye-jin asked. Not yet. Let's see if their admiral is smarter than their captain was. Admiral Korth opened communications as his fleet reached the disabled Council vessels. This is Admiral Korth of the Galactic Council. To whoever attacked these ships, surrender immediately and prepare to face judgment for your crimes. The response came from the same human ship that had disabled Rax's fleet. Captain Minho appeared on the main screen, his expression as calm as before. Admiral Korth, you're making the same mistake your captain made. This is human space. You don't belong here. Human space? Korth's voice filled with anger. Humans are extinct. Whatever species you represent, you will surrender immediately or face the consequences. Minho shook his head slowly. Admiral, I'm going to give you the same warning I gave Captain Rax. You have one chance to collect your disabled ships and leave peacefully. After that, we will take action. Korth looked at his tactical display. 50 ships against one. The odds were completely in his favor. You have exactly one ship, I have 50. Your bluff won't work on me. This isn't a bluff, Minho replied. This is your last warning. The communication ended, leaving Korth staring at a blank screen. He had never been challenged so directly by any species. The human's confidence was either remarkable stupidity or something far more dangerous. All ships battle formation, Korth ordered. Prepare to destroy that human vessel and secure this system for the Council. His fleet spread into attack position, weapons charging and targeting systems locking onto the retribution. Korth felt the familiar satisfaction of overwhelming superiority. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're receiving a transmission from the human ship. Put it through. Captain Minho's voice filled the bridge. All stations, full reveal. Show them what 3,000 years of preparation looks like. Suddenly, space around the Council fleet began to shimmer and change. Defensive platforms appeared everywhere, not just around Earth, but throughout the entire solar system. Massive installations materialized around Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and even in the asteroid belt. Each platform bristled with weapons that seemed to bend reality itself. Impossible, Korth whispered, staring at his tactical display. The numbers were beyond belief. Over 1,000 defensive installations, each one more advanced than anything in Council records. But the revelation wasn't finished. The space around several planets began to ripple, revealing structures that defied understanding. Cities hung in space without visible support, connected by bridges of pure energy. Manufacturing facilities the size of moons operated in perfect silence. Admiral, his science officer reported with a trembling voice. I'm detecting artificial gravity fields, matter manipulation systems, and energy sources that shouldn't be possible according to known physics. Korth realized he wasn't looking at a single planet's defenses. He was seeing an entire civilization that had been hidden from the galaxy for millennia. A civilization that had used 3,000 years of isolation to develop technology that made the Council look primitive. How many humans are there? He asked quietly. Sir, based on these installations, billions, maybe trillions. They're not just on Earth. They're throughout this entire star system. The human defensive grid activated with mechanical precision. But instead of the destructive weapons Korth expected, the platforms used technology he couldn't understand. Gravity wells appeared beneath his ships, but these weren't simple traps. They were precise manipulation fields that held each vessel, exactly where the humans wanted it. Energy beams reached across impossible distances, but instead of destroying his ships, they simply turned off every system simultaneously. Weapons, engines, life support, communications, everything stopped working at exactly the same moment across all 50 vessels. Report, Korth demanded, but there was no power to his command systems. Emergency lighting flickered on as backup power activated. Through his viewport, Korth could see his entire fleet drifting helplessly. disabled with surgical precision that left every crew member alive but completely powerless. The demonstration lasted exactly 10 minutes. When it was over, Admiral Korth sat in his darkened command chair, finally understanding the truth. Humanity hadn't died out 3,000 years ago. They had simply decided the galaxy wasn't ready for them yet. 3 days after the second defeat, Admiral Korth found himself sitting in a small meeting room aboard the human command ship Defender. The room was simple, just a metal table, 2 chairs, and soft lighting. Nothing about it suggested the incredible power he had witnessed from humanity's defensive systems. Captain Shin Woo-jin entered quietly and sat across from the alien admiral. He looked completely ordinary, medium height, dark hair, calm brown eyes. If Korth had met him anywhere else in the galaxy, he would have assumed the human was just another primitive species member. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting," Woo-jin said politely. "I know the situation has been difficult for you and your crews." Korth's 4 eyes studied the human carefully. "What do you want from us?" "Nothing complicated. We want to establish clear boundaries that will prevent future conflicts." A datapad slid across the table toward Korth. He picked it up with one of his tentacle-like appendages and read the simple text displayed on the screen. "The Sol system and all space within 50 light-years belongs to Earth," he read aloud. "No council ships, stations, or personnel are permitted within this zone. In exchange, humanity agrees not to expand beyond these boundaries." Korth looked up from the pad. 50 light-years? That's an enormous amount of space. There could be hundreds of star systems within that range. "There are," Woo-jin confirmed. "Most of them contain human colonies that have existed for over 2,000 years. The alien admiral felt his confidence crumble further. "You've been out there all along, watching us, studying us." "We've been living our lives peacefully," Woo-jin corrected. "We only watch the council when your ships come near our borders." Korth set the datapad down carefully. "The report said humanity destroyed itself in nuclear wars. Every species in the galaxy knows this story. We made sure they knew that story," Woo-jin replied calmly. 3,000 years ago, humanity realized we weren't ready for galactic contact. We were too aggressive, too divided, too focused on conflict, so our leaders made a difficult decision. You faked your own extinction. We withdrew from galactic attention and used the time to grow, to learn, to become better than we were." Korth thought about the incredible technology he had witnessed. The defensive systems that could disable entire fleets without killing anyone. The hidden cities and installations throughout the solar system. The weapons that seemed to manipulate the basic forces of the universe. "Your technology," he said quietly. "It's beyond anything the Council has ever encountered." Woo-jin nodded. "When you spend 3,000 years focused on learning instead of conquering, you can accomplish remarkable things. Why reveal yourselves now? You could have stayed hidden." "Because the Council is expanding toward our outer colonies. We needed to establish clear boundaries before accidentally starting a war." Admiral Korth read through the agreement again. The terms were actually quite reasonable. Humanity wanted to be left alone, not to conquer the galaxy. They were offering to limit their own expansion in exchange for recognition of their territory. What if the Council refuses these terms? Woo-jin's expression didn't change, but something cold entered his eyes. "Admiral, you've seen what happens. When Council fleets enter our space, your ships were disabled by a single defensive grid around one star system. We have colonies throughout this entire galactic arm that you've never detected." The implications of that statement settled over Korth like a heavy weight. If humanity had been expanding secretly for thousands of years, they could be anywhere. They could have colonies next to major council worlds, and no one would know until the humans chose to reveal themselves. "You're saying we don't really have a choice?" "You always have choices," Woo-jin replied, "but some choices have better outcomes than others." Korth thought about his disabled fleet, floating helplessly in space until human rescue ships had restored basic power to their vessels. He thought about the impossible technology that had treated the Council's most advanced warships like children's toys. The Council will want to study your technology. They'll want to understand how you achieved such advances. "That's not part of the agreement," Woo-jin said firmly. "Our technology stays with us. Your people can visit our border stations for trade and diplomacy, but our inner systems remain off limits. And if some council members decide to test your defenses anyway. Wu Jin stood up, signaling that the meeting was over. Admiral, you've seen what happens when people test our defenses. We prefer peaceful solutions, but we're prepared for other options. As Korth prepared to leave, he had one final question. Why are you being so reasonable? With your technology, you could conquer the entire galaxy. The human captain walked to the viewport and looked out at the stars. Admiral, we spent 3,000 years learning a very important lesson. True strength isn't about what you can destroy. It's about what you can protect. 2 weeks later, the Galactic Council voted unanimously to accept humanity's terms. The Soul Exclusion Zone was established, marking humanity's official return to galactic awareness. But unlike their ancient ancestors, these humans came not as conquerors, but as guardians, watchers who would ensure that the mistakes of the past would never be repeated. The galaxy had learned that sometimes the greatest power comes from choosing when not to use it.